Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel, Literary Love 123, where I combine my master's in English with my passion for the horror genre. In this video, I'm just going to give you a November update. I'll do a book haul, talk about life so far this month, and talk about future channel plans. So after this quick intro, come right back and let's chat. November has been a hard month for me, for a lot of people. Around November 5th or 6th, it felt like the whole world crashed down around us. And I will be honest, I am having a very hard time with the events that are taking place and that I know are going to take place over the next 4 or so years. And I keep going between feelings of despair, rage, numbness, and all of those feelings will be reflected, I'm sure, in this video. But let's talk about books, right? Because one of the things that I have done, whether it's healthy or not, is to cope with these feelings by buying more books. So let's talk about those. Let's talk about some good things right now. So I want to talk about, first of all, 3 books that have to do with Frankenstein. If you know me, if you've followed me, you know Frankenstein is one of my favorite classics. And I want to talk about, first of all, some of the Frankenstein books that I've gotten recently. This one is used, as you can tell. Someone loved it or either just tossed it around, one or the other. But this is the original 1818 text of Frankenstein, of course, by Mary Shelley. But this also includes footnotes and revisions by her husband, romantic poet Percy Shelley. So I'm interested in seeing what kind of revisions and what kind of stuff he added to her original text. Also, per Crystal at Fiber Artsy's recommendation, I mean, she didn't specifically recommend this book to me, but I saw her talk about it in a couple of her videos. And so I was like, well, I've got to have that. And that is a Junji Ito manga of Frankenstein. So I haven't even opened this one yet. I've had it for a little while, but I just want to I don't know, show you some of the art here. I'm so excited to read this. I love Uzumaki, which unfortunately is the only thing by Junji Ito that I've read, but I hope to remedy that. But at any point, look at this Frankenstein. I'm excited. The other book I have is a nonfiction book related to Frankenstein. And this is Transmedia Creatures, Frankenstein's Afterlives. This is edited by Francesca Siggini. I hope I said that right. And Anna Enrichita Socio. And I hope I said that right. So I'll just read you a little bit of what the back says. And this was published in 2018. On the 200th anniversary of the first edition of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Transmedia Creatures presents studies of Frankenstein by international scholars from converging disciplines who investigate the afterlives of a novel taught in a disparate array of courses. The contributors use a variety of contemporary approaches and highly original perspectives to analyze how cultural content is redistributed through multiple media forms and modes of production of Shelley's Frankenstein. So I can't wait to get into these essays and see what they have to say. I have another nonfiction book too. I picked this up because of my online teaching business. We had a webinar, and the host of the webinar suggested this book as you're working to build your brand and, find your niche in creating your classes. And this is called Building a Story Brand, Clarify Your Message so Customers Will Listen. And this is by Donald Miller. So this is a book that will show you how to use the 7 elements of great storytelling to grow your business. And I thought that was a really unique concept and a really interesting way of looking at building a business, in that you're telling a story. And since I love to read, and what I teach is, literature, poetry, mythology, and folklore, I think creating my classes with this idea of a storytelling in mind would just be a perfect fit. And next, I'm going to talk about some books that I have bought on my Kindle. So, excuse me while I look at my phone to talk about these books. So, let me do that. So, the first book I really had forgotten until I was kind of looking through my Kindle to see what I'd bought lately. And this is going to this is not like it's the first time this happened to me. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I've got this book, especially when it comes to my Kindle, I'll forget. Evidently, I got this one, for Halloween because I ordered it on October 7th, and it is called Scuttle by Barnaby Walter. And I never did read it. So maybe next Halloween. It says, when an overnight camping trip in the woods on Halloween night goes wrong and a girl ends up dead with what looks like animal wounds, the whole neighborhood is shocked. How did it happen? And more importantly, what was it that killed her? So it is comped with, or it states that it is like Carrie meets The Cabin in the Woods in this terrifying Halloween horror novel. So I can see why I got that, because Carrie meets Cabin in the Woods, that would like pull me in. The next book I want to talk about that I have on my Kindle is The Forest by Lisa Quigley. Again, shout out to Crystal at Fiber Artsy, because I heard her talk about this book on her channel, and I knew that this was something that I needed to have. Again, I didn't want, needed, right? And here is what The Forest is about. Everyone in Edgewood believes their annual ties at the Fall Festival are what purchased Edgewood's safety. But as Faye and her husband prepare to take over as town stewards, a long tradition carried out by her family for generations, they learn the terrible truth. In order to guarantee the town's safety, the forest demands an unthinkable sacrifice. In the midst of everything, Faye is secretly battling debilitating postpartum anxiety that makes her all the more terrified to leave the safe cocoon of her enchanted town. When everyone turns against her, including her own husband, Faye is forced to flee with her infant son into the forest. She must face whatever lurks there, and perhaps, most frightening of all, the dark torments of her own mind. So that just sounds really good. I love creepy forest folklore. Probably not the least of the reasons being that I live around, forests. So anything that can make me feel more scared where I am, because who wouldn't want to feel that, right? Okay, the next book that I want to talk about is Grim Portraits by Keelan Patrick Burke. I saw this mentioned on his Instagram page, and I love his stuff. And let me just tell you about this and talk about why I was like, this is something that I need. And I actually started reading it last night, and I am partway through the first story, and I like it so far. So let me tell you about this book, Grim Portraits, Keelan Patrick Burke. What do you see when you look at a painting? The image, the brushstrokes, the stippled canvas beneath? What if you looked beyond it? And what do you know about the person who created that picture that's hanging on your wall? They say art requires a certain acceptable degree of madness. What secrets then lie beyond the pigment and the darkness between depiction and delusion? Herein, you'll find stories about self destructive lovers on a quest to find themselves. Meet a man who wakes to find himself bound to a chair in a gallery of nightmarish paintings. Discover how one horrific act converts a child's grief into artistic talent. Witness the unveiling of an art collector's most precious and macabre find. Visit a comic book store with a pair of thieves intent on robbing a man. And read a roadie's account of a band's final days. So, did I mention these are short stories? It's a short story collection. I don't think I did mention that. I probably should have mentioned that before I started talking about it. Yeah, so this is not all one story. These are separate stories. So it kind of gave me vibes of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and also The Once Yellow House by Gemma Amor, which I read earlier this year and actually did a video essay about, and I will try to remember to link that in the description box. But I'm intrigued by this idea of using art in horror. I just think it's really awesome. Yeah, I'm so just I don't know, pulled into that idea. Um and let me now talk about another book that I have on my Kindle. And this is also going to relate to upcoming channel plans. So I'm not sure if I'm going to start this in the latter part of December or wait until January, but I am planning a Polar Gothic series on my channel here. And for that series, I'm going to be reading Dark Matter by Michelle Paver, All the White Spaces by Allie Wilkes, and The Terror by Dan Simmons. So I've recently purchased all of these books. Dark Matter I have on my Kindle. So let me tell you what Dark Matter is about. January 1937. Clouds of war are gathering over a fog-bound London. 28-year-old Jack is poor, lonely, and desperate to change his life. So when he's offered the chance to join an Arctic expedition, he jumps at it. Spirits are high as the ship leaves Norway. 5 men and 8 huskies crossing the Barents Sea by the light of the midnight sun. At last they reach the remote, uninhabited bay where they will camp for next year. Gruhuken, I hope I said that right. But the Arctic summer is brief. As night returns to claim the land, Jack feels a creeping unease. One by one, his companions are forced to leave. He faces a stark choice: stay or go. Soon he will see the last of the sun as the polar night engulfs the camp in months of darkness. Soon he will reach the point of no return, when the sea will freeze, making escape impossible. Gruhuken is not uninhabited. Jack is not alone. Something walks there in the dark. That sounds so good. So now let me talk about this doorstopper, which is The Terror by Dan Simmons. Woo. All right. The men on board the HMS Terror, part of the 1845 Franklin expedition, the first steam-powered vessels ever to search for the legendary Northwest Passage, are entering a second summer in the Arctic Circle without a thought, stranded in a nightmarish landscape of encroaching ice and darkness. Endlessly cold, they struggle to survive with poisonous rations, a dwindling coal supply, and ships buckling in the grip of crushing ice. But their real enemy is even more terrifying. There is something out there in the frigid darkness, an unseen predator stalking their ship, a monstrous terror clawing to get in. And then All the White Spaces by Allie Wilkes. In the wake of the First World War, Jonathan Morgan stows away on an Antarctic expedition, determined to find his rightful place in the world of men. Finally, Jonathan may live as his true self and true gender, But not all is smooth sailing. The war cast a long shadow. Grief, guilt, and mistrust skulk among the crew. When disaster strikes, the men must overwinter somewhere that immediately seems eerie and wrong. Completely isolated, the crew has no means of contacting the outside world, and no one is coming to rescue them. In the endless polar night, where the aurora creeps across the sky, something terrible has been waiting to lure the men out into its deadly landscape. This supernatural force will prey on their deepest desires and deepest fears to pick them off one by one. As the harsh Antarctic winter descends, it is up to Jonathan to overcome his own ghost before he and the expedition are utterly destroyed. I am so looking forward to these stories of terror and isolation in the extreme cold. I'm also going to add some movies in, such as, of course, right, John Carpenter's The Thing. I'm also going to rewatch 30 Days of Night. And I want to watch the AMC television series based on the terror once I finish reading it. And if you have any other Arctic like movie recommendations that would kind of relate to this polar gothic, something terrifying stalking you in the freezing cold of night, let me know. If you want to give me book recommendations, that would be great too, although I probably won't get to those in this series that I'm doing because I kind of got some chunky books already. But that is what I have planned for, upcoming content on my channel. Beyond that, I'm just not sure. I feel like I am flailing right now and struggling to focus and to concentrate and to even get up in the mornings and put one foot in front of the other. But I thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you would like this video, if you would subscribe, if you would hit that bell so we can continue to talk about books, but also to support and encourage each other in the time that is to come. So thank you again, and I will see you next time. Bye.